You wake up with a knot in your stomach. Your mind is already racing through a to-do list that feels impossible. A sense of vague dread follows you through the day, a background hum of urgency even when you're supposedly relaxing. This isn't just a bad week, it's your operating system. For millions, constant stress mode has become the default setting, a pervasive feeling of being perpetually behind, under threat, and on the edge. We've normalized living in a state of psychological emergency, mistaking the alarm bell for the soundtrack of a successful life. But why? What has hijacked our nervous systems? And how do we take back control from a state that feels so normal it's almost invisible? Let's uncover the hidden mechanics of the modern stress prison. Your body's stress response, the famous fight-or-flight system, was designed for short-term emergencies, like escaping a predator. It was a sprint. Modern life has turned it into a never-ending marathon. Chronic low-grade threats, like email inboxes, financial pressures, and social comparisons, keep the alarm switch perpetually flicked on. Your brain, brilliant but ancient, can't distinguish between a looming work deadline and a lurking saber-toothed tiger. The cortisol and adrenaline meant for brief bursts now flood your system continuously. You are living in a body that believes it is in ceaseless, mortal danger, and it is exhausting itself, trying to save a life that isn't technically on the line, just perpetually on the clock. We have woven our self-worth into the fabric of our schedules. To be busy is to be important, needed, and valid. An empty calendar feels like an existential threat, a sign of Therefore, we subconsciously cultivate stress as proof of our worth. Saying, "I'm so stressed," has become a humble brag, a badge of honor that signals our significance in the world. This creates a perverse incentive to stay in constant stress mode. Stepping out of it feels not like relief, but like a demotion, a slide into obscurity. Your identity becomes hostage to your own hustle, and peace becomes synonymous with purposelessness. Your smartphone is a pocket-sized stress delivery system. It has demolished the boundaries between work and home, obligation and leisure. The ping of a notification is a modern-day predator call, triggering a micro-stress response. You are always on call, always available, always just one message away from a new demand or crisis. This constant state of alert expectation means your nervous system never gets the all-clear signal. There is no off switch, only standby. The world's anxieties are literally in your hand, and the compulsion to check them trains your brain to exist in a persistent, low-grade state of anticipatory dread, mistaking connection for captivity. You believe your stress is a motivator, that without the pressure, you would get nothing done. This is the great lie of productive anxiety. While acute stress can focus the mind, chronic stress does the opposite. It impairs cognitive function, memory, and decision-making. You are not running on high-octane fuel. You are running on a system-wide inflammatory response. The constant stress mode makes you less efficient, more prone to error, and burns out the very gears it's trying to turn faster. You cling to the anxiety because you fear the vacuum of motivation without it, not realizing that true, sustainable drive comes from a place of engaged focus, not frantic survival. For many, chaos is not an interruption. It is a baseline. If you grew up in an unpredictable or high-conflict environment, your nervous system calibrated itself to constant stress. Calm feels unfamiliar, even suspicious. Your body, seeking what it knows, will unconsciously recreate or magnify crises to return to its familiar, stressed state. This is why some people seem to attract drama. They are biologically homesick for the tumultuous terrain of their past. Living in constant stress mode isn't a choice. It's a tragic homecoming, a return to the only emotional climate where your system feels prepared and normal. Stillness can be terrifying. In the quiet, unresolved thoughts and emotions rise to the surface. Constant stress mode, with its relentless focus on external problems, is a brilliant distraction from internal turmoil. If you are constantly managing a crisis, you never have to sit with feelings of loneliness, inadequacy, or grief. The stress becomes a buffer, a wall of noise against the silence where harder truths live. You choose the known agony of busyness over the unknown fear of what you might meet in your own unoccupied mind, trading existential anxiety for logistical overwhelm. Social media has created a global, 24/7 highlight reel. You can't escape. You are no longer just comparing yourself to your neighbor, but to thousands of curated illusions of success, beauty, and adventure. This triggers a chronic, low-grade social threat response. Your status feels perpetually insecure. The stress you feel is the gnawing pressure of a race you never signed up for, where the finish line moves daily. It's a background app constantly draining your battery, generating a stress based on artificial scarcity. The fear that you are falling behind in a game where everyone else seems to be winning. Your body has non-negotiable needs for recovery: sleep, nourishing food, and movement. Modern life systematically violates these needs. You trade sleep for screen time, nutrition for convenience, and movement for commute time. This isn't just an unhealthy lifestyle. It's a direct assault on your stress regulation system. A sleep-deprived, poorly fed, sedentary body is a body in a state of biological emergency. The constant stress mode you feel is not purely psychological. It is the literal, physiological consequence of a system running on empty, sending persistent distress signals because its fundamental operating requirements are being chronically unmet. You may cling to stress as a twisted form of agency. The subconscious logic is brutal. If you are constantly worrying about a problem, you are somehow controlling it. To stop worrying feels like surrendering to chaos. This mental rehearsal of disaster gives you the illusion of preparedness, making the unpredictable feel slightly more manageable. Constant stress mode becomes a psychic security blanket, a ritual you perform to ward off true catastrophe. In reality, you are not preventing disaster. You are living it in advance, ober paying the emotional price for events that may never occur. Stress is not the problem. The problem is the lack of completion. Our lives are a barrage of open loops, unfinished tasks, unresolved conversations, and indeterminate goals. Your nervous system needs a clear signal that a threat has passed to downshift. Without it, stress accumulates like toxic debt. A true recovery window isn't just a weekend, it's a psychological finish line. A definitive "this is done." Constant stress mode is the sound of a system stuck in the middle of a sentence, never reaching a period, perpetually waiting for a resolution that modern life is structurally designed to withhold. You may not have chosen a stressed life. You may have inherited it. If your parents or community lived in survival mode, grappling with financial instability, discrimination, or social upheaval, that heightened state of alertness was a necessary adaptation. This operational setting is passed down, not through genes, but through modeled behavior and unspoken expectations. Your constant stress mode might be a loyal, subconscious tribute to their struggle, a way of honoring their reality by never fully leaving it. You carry the watchfulness of their battles, even if your own environment is technically safer. Play is the antidote to stress. It is activity for its own sake, without a goal or a metric. Adult life systematically eliminates play, replacing it with goal-oriented hobbies and optimized leisure. Without these pressure release valves of purposeless joy, stress has nowhere to go. It compounds. Constant stress mode is the psyche of a being that has forgotten how to be frivolous, how to engage in an activity solely because it feels good. You are all engine and no neutral, all task and no mess. A machine that knows only work cycles and sleep, but not the resetting state of true, joyful play. Your brain rewards you for solving problems. Each time you put out a fire, you get a hit of dopamine, the accomplishment chemical. In constant stress mode, you become addicted to being the solver, the crisis manager. You unconsciously allow or create problems just to experience the relief and reward of fixing them. This cycle turns you into a stress junkie, seeking the next hit of resolution. The quiet satisfaction of prevention or maintenance can't compete with the biochemical rush of last-minute salvation. You live for the emergency, because your brain has been trained to crave the payoff that follows. A mindset of scarcity, the belief that time, money, love, and opportunities are perpetually insufficient, is a direct pipeline to chronic stress. This lens forces you to view every request as a drain, every competitor as a threat, and every moment of rest as a loss. Your nervous system is primed for hoarding and defense, not for growth and receptivity. Constant stress mode is the physiological expression of a scarcity mindset, a body braced for deprivation in a world you perceive as fundamentally lacking. Until that core belief is challenged, your biology will mirror the struggle, keeping you in a state of lack, regardless of your actual circumstances. Human biology is designed to sync with natural cycles, the rising and setting of the sun, the changing seasons. Modern life, with its artificial light, climate control, and 24/7 global demands, has severed this connection. Your body's internal clock, its circadian rhythm, governs stress hormone release and recovery. When this rhythm is disrupted by screen time at night, erratic eating, or no natural daylight, your stress regulation system becomes constant stress mode is, in part, the confusion of a body that doesn't know what time it is, biologically speaking, and therefore can't properly schedule its own vital maintenance and repair. Stress is often a container for other emotions you haven't processed. Anger, sadness, fear, and shame are challenging to feel and express. It is easier for your psyche to convert them into a general, socially acceptable sense of being stressed. This unprocessed emotional backlog creates a constant, low-grade pressure in your system. You are not just managing today's tasks. You are carrying the unmourned losses and unexpressed frustrations of months or years. Constant stress mode becomes a full-time job, managing this pressurized backlog, leaving no space for anything else. The stress is the symptom, not the root cause. Escaping constant stress mode requires teaching your nervous system a new definition of safety. This isn't cognitive, it's somatic. It begins with tiny, repeated experiences of calm. It is the conscious pause to feel your feet on the floor, the deliberate act of taking 5 deep breaths, the firm boundary that protects an hour of true disconnection. Each of these acts is a micro-lesson for your brain, evidence that the world is not an endless emergency. You are building a new default setting, not through force, but through consistent, gentle proof that it is possible to exist in a state that is not braced for impact. Escaping constant stress mode requires teaching your nervous system a new definition of safety. This isn't cognitive, it's somatic. It begins with tiny, repeated experiences of calm. It is the conscious pause to feel your feet on the floor, the deliberate act of taking 5 deep breaths, the firm boundary that protects an hour of true disconnection. Each of these acts is a micro-lesson for your brain, evidence that the world is not an endless emergency. You are building a new default setting, not through force, but through consistent, gentle proof that it is possible to exist in a state that is not braced for impact. The final key is to dismantle the belief that time is your enemy. Constant stress mode is a war with the clock, a feeling of perpetual shortage. Redefine time from a currency you spend to a space you inhabit. Introduce moments of timelessness, where you engage in an activity with no goal and no clock. This could be gardening, sketching, or simply watching clouds. In these spaces, stress cannot survive, because its fuel, urgent, linear time, is absent. You reclaim your nervous system by reclaiming your perception of time, moving from a state of frantic depletion to one of intentional, spacious presence. The calm you seek is found not in managing time, but in transcending it, even if just for a few minutes a day.